My beloved child. Stop scrolling for just a moment. Something is waiting for you. Pause here, because what you are about to hear did not arrive by accident. If these words have reached your eyes today, there is a reason your heart feels unusually still. Stay until the end, because every sentence is leading toward a revelation that has been hidden behind ordinary moments for far longer than you realize. You have asked questions that you never spoke aloud. You have wondered why certain connections refuse to disappear, even after seasons have changed. I have watched every silent prayer, every tear that never touched another person's shoulder, every hope you folded away because you believed it was time to let go. Yet heaven has never forgotten what your heart carried in silence. Listen carefully, my beloved child. This is not a message meant to create fear. It is a story of hearts, choices, timing, and the mysterious ways that people continue to grow long after they believe every chapter has already been written. There is someone whose path became different from yours. Life moved quickly. Responsibilities arrived. Promises were made. Their world became filled with expectations they never imagined carrying. From the outside, everything appeared settled, complete, and impossible to change. Those who looked only with earthly eyes believed the story had reached its ending. But heaven often sees beginnings where people see endings. You have noticed unusual moments recently. A memory returning without invitation. A familiar feeling appearing at unexpected times. A dream that lingered after sunrise. These moments were not meaningless interruptions. They became quiet reminders that not every unanswered question disappears simply because time continues moving forward. Stay with this message, because something greater is about to unfold. There came a day when this person unexpectedly faced a truth buried beneath years of routine. It was not caused by coincidence. It was not created by chance. In a simple, ordinary moment, something awakened deep within their heart. They remembered the kindness they once overlooked. They remembered conversations that seemed small at the time but later became impossible to forget. They remembered a version of themselves that felt more alive than they had allowed themselves to become. That realization did not erase their responsibilities. It did not magically rewrite their circumstances. Instead, it forced them to look honestly at the life they had built and the person they had become. For the first time in a long while, silence became louder than noise. Do not misunderstand what I am revealing. Heaven does not celebrate confusion, nor does it encourage broken promises. Wisdom always walks beside truth. Yet hearts are often transformed long before lives visibly change. Growth begins where honesty begins. What surprised the angels was not that they remembered you. It was what they chose to do after that moment. They did not rush into reckless decisions. They did not speak before understanding their own heart. Instead, they quietly searched for truth. They began changing parts of themselves no one else could see. Old pride started falling away. Hidden wounds finally demanded healing. Regret became a teacher instead of a prison. Every unseen step became part of a journey you could not witness. And while you believed nothing was happening, heaven watched every small decision they made in secret. My beloved child, you have spent so much time believing your own chapter was forgotten. Yet while you waited for visible answers, invisible preparation continued beyond your sight. Sometimes I protect you by allowing you to know only part of the story until the right moment arrives. Do not skip what comes next. The greatest surprise has not yet been spoken. There is one decision they made after that awakening, one quiet action that almost nobody knows about. It was not announced. It was not celebrated. It happened in complete silence, yet it sent ripples through a future that neither of you could fully imagine. That single choice is about to change everything you thought you understood. And when its purpose is finally revealed, you will realize that this story was never as simple as it first appeared. My beloved child. Before the next truth is revealed, stay here with an open heart. Do not rush ahead, because the quiet moments often carry the loudest answers. What is unfolding has never been about chance. It has always been about timing, wisdom, and the unseen work that takes place long before anyone notices a visible change. The decision they made was not dramatic. There were no crowds watching. No one applauded. In fact, most people never realized anything had changed at all. But heaven noticed. One evening, while the world around them continued as usual, they found themselves unable to ignore the questions they had buried for so long. Instead of pretending everything was perfect, they chose honesty over comfort. They admitted to themselves that they had been living with emotions they never fully understood. That moment became the beginning of transformation. Not because they suddenly knew every answer, but because they finally stopped running from the questions. Stay until the end, because another layer is about to be uncovered. They began looking back over moments they had once dismissed. Ordinary conversations suddenly carried extraordinary meaning. Small acts of kindness became impossible to forget. They realized that genuine love is often recognized only after enough time has passed for the heart to see clearly. This realization humbled them. For the first time in years, they prayed with complete sincerity, not asking heaven to rewrite yesterday, but asking for wisdom to walk faithfully through today. That prayer was quieter than a whisper, yet it echoed through places no human eyes could ever see. My beloved child, never underestimate a sincere prayer. Sometimes one honest conversation with heaven begins changing an entire future. As they continued seeking truth, they also began changing themselves. Their words became gentler. Their decisions became wiser. Their patience grew stronger. The people around them noticed something different, but they could not explain it. What they could not see was that every step toward honesty was also preparing them for a conversation they never expected to have. A conversation connected to you. No, it was not what people imagine in dramatic stories. It was something far deeper. Before any words could ever be spoken between two people, heaven was first restoring what had become broken inside one heart. Because restored hearts make wiser decisions than restless hearts. That is why the waiting has mattered. That is why nothing has been rushed. You have wondered why doors remained closed. You questioned why certain prayers seemed delayed. But delays are not always denials. Sometimes they are protection, while unseen restoration takes place beyond your understanding. Do not skip now. The next revelation is closer than you think. Very soon, an unexpected circumstance will place both of your stories closer together than either of you could have imagined. It will appear ordinary to everyone else, yet you will sense that something deeper is taking place beneath the surface. When that moment arrives, you will remember these words. Because what follows will reveal why heaven allowed every season of waiting, and why one message, one meeting, or one unexpected moment is about to carry a meaning neither of you saw coming. But that extraordinary moment has not yet arrived. Its first sign is already on its way. My beloved child. Take another moment to quiet your thoughts. Do not hurry through these words, because the next part of this story is like the first light before sunrise. It appears softly, yet it reveals everything that darkness once concealed. If you have stayed this far, it is because your heart is searching for more than answers, it is searching for understanding. There are moments when heaven allows two lives to move in completely different directions, not because they are forgotten, but because each soul must learn lessons that cannot be taught any other way. You have wondered why the distance became so great. You questioned whether silence meant the story had ended. But silence is not always an ending. Sometimes silence is where transformation begins. While you were focused on your own healing, they were facing truths they could no longer avoid. Day after day, they recognized that outward success cannot replace inward peace. They discovered that appearances may satisfy the eyes of the world, but they cannot quiet a restless heart. This realization did not come all at once. It arrived through ordinary mornings, unexpected conversations, and quiet evenings when their thoughts became impossible to escape. Every passing day peeled away another layer until they could finally see themselves with complete honesty. Stay with this message, because something remarkable is drawing closer. There came a moment when they found an old reminder connected to a season they believed had been left behind. It could have been a familiar place, a meaningful word, or a memory carried by an ordinary object. To everyone else, it seemed insignificant. To them, it felt like heaven whispering. They paused. For a long time, they simply sat in silence, realizing how much they had changed and how much they still longed to become the person they were always meant to be. Instead of looking backward with regret, they began looking forward with wisdom. That single moment changed the direction of their heart. My beloved child, understand this carefully. Heaven is never limited by the timelines people create. What seems delayed to human understanding may actually be perfectly aligned in ways you cannot yet see. Every season has prepared both of you differently, shaping character before revealing purpose. You have often asked why certain prayers remained unanswered. Perhaps the answer was never no. Perhaps it was not until both hearts are ready to recognize what truly matters. Do not skip now. The greatest turn in this story is still hidden. Soon, circumstances beyond either of your control will begin arranging pieces that once seemed scattered forever. Small events will start connecting in ways that appear ordinary on the surface but carry extraordinary meaning beneath. When that happens, you may think it is coincidence. It is not. You may think it is luck. It is not. You may believe it happened because someone planned it. Yet neither of you will fully understand that unseen hands have been guiding moments long before they arrived. And then, a message will appear. Not the message anyone expects. Not the words either of you rehearsed. But a message carrying one truth that has remained unspoken for far too long. When those words are finally revealed, everything you thought you understood about this journey will be challenged. And that is where the next chapter truly begins. My beloved child. Do not let your attention wander now. Stay with these words a little longer, because the next piece of this story has been quietly forming while no one was looking. What seemed ordinary was never truly ordinary. Every unseen moment has carried a purpose that only heaven could fully understand. The message that was prepared did not begin with grand promises or dramatic declarations. It began with honesty. For the first time in many seasons, they stopped trying to appear strong and allowed themselves to admit what had been hidden beneath years of responsibility and routine. They realized that peace cannot be borrowed from appearances. It must grow from truth. That realization became a turning point. Not because everything around them changed overnight, but because everything inside them began to change. Stay until the end, because another hidden layer is about to unfold. Night after night, they found themselves reflecting on the choices that shaped their journey. They remembered moments they once overlooked. They remembered words of kindness they had never properly appreciated. They remembered the quiet encouragement that stayed with them long after conversations had ended. Some memories fade. These memories became brighter. The more they tried to ignore them, the more clearly they returned. It felt as though heaven was gently reminding them that some lessons are too valuable to remain forgotten. My beloved child, there are seasons when I allow hearts to revisit the past not to become trapped there, but to discover the wisdom they missed the first time. That is exactly what was happening. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen?" they slowly began asking, "What is heaven teaching me through this?" The question changed everything. Their heart became softer. Their thoughts became calmer. Their decisions became guided by wisdom instead of emotion. Without realizing it, they were becoming someone very different from the person they had once been. Do not skip now. Something extraordinary is closer than ever. As this inner transformation continued, unexpected opportunities began appearing around them. Small conversations carried unusual meaning. Familiar places felt strangely different. Even ordinary days seemed filled with quiet reminders that a new season was approaching. Most people would have dismissed these moments. They did not. Instead, they paid attention. And every time they listened carefully, another piece of the puzzle quietly fell into place. Meanwhile, you were also changing. You may not have noticed it, but your own heart has become stronger than it once was. The waiting taught you patience. The unanswered questions taught you faith. The quiet seasons taught you resilience. Neither journey has been wasted. Every step has been preparing both of you for a moment that could never have happened earlier. Because if it had arrived too soon, neither heart would have recognized its true purpose. Now listen closely. There is one final piece still hidden. A conversation is approaching that neither of you expected. It will begin so naturally that it may seem like an ordinary exchange. Yet beneath every word will be a depth that cannot be explained by coincidence alone. When that conversation begins, one sentence will be spoken, a sentence that has remained locked inside a heart for far too long. That single sentence will reveal why this entire journey unfolded the way it did. But its full meaning has not yet been revealed. And when you hear it, nothing about this story will ever look the same again. My beloved child. You have remained here because something within your spirit recognizes that this journey is leading toward a truth greater than appearances. Do not leave now. Stay until the final word of this part, because what is about to unfold is not the ending, it is the moment just before the greatest revelation. The conversation I spoke of did not begin the way anyone expected. There were no perfect circumstances. No carefully planned setting. No dramatic interruption. Instead, it arrived quietly, almost unnoticed, as if heaven had wrapped something extraordinary inside an ordinary moment. That is how many of my greatest works begin. The first few words were simple, but behind every sentence lived years of unanswered questions, silent prayers, and lessons learned through patience. Neither heart spoke with pride anymore. Both had been shaped by seasons that taught humility, compassion, and wisdom. Stay with this message. Another hidden truth is about to be revealed. As the conversation continued, they realized something unexpected. The peace they had been searching for was never found by looking backward with regret. It was found by accepting responsibility for the present and allowing truth to guide every step forward. In that moment, they understood something they had never understood before. Love is not measured only by emotion. It is measured by honesty. It is measured by integrity. It is measured by the courage to become the person heaven created you to be. That realization changed the way they saw everything. My beloved child, remember this whenever your heart becomes impatient. The greatest miracles often begin inside a person long before they become visible to the world. You may think nothing is happening because your eyes cannot yet see the harvest. But heaven has been preparing the soil every single day. Even when you believed the story had gone silent. Even when you thought every door had closed. Even when you questioned whether your prayers had been heard. I was still working beyond what human understanding could perceive. Do not skip now. The next moment carries extraordinary significance. As they prepared to leave that conversation behind, they paused unexpectedly. There was one final thought they could no longer keep hidden. It was not spoken to impress. It was not spoken to rewrite the past. It was spoken because truth had finally become stronger than fear. Before saying anything else, they looked upward for a brief moment, silently asking heaven for wisdom. Then they took a deep breath. The words that followed were unlike anything you or they had imagined would ever be spoken. Those words did not promise impossible outcomes. They did not erase the complexity of life's circumstances. Instead, they revealed a sincere heart that had finally chosen truth over illusion and wisdom over impulse. And the moment those words were spoken, heaven grew silent. Not because the story was over, but because what happened immediately afterward would begin a completely unexpected chapter, one that neither of you could have predicted, and one whose first sign is about to be revealed in part 6. My beloved child. If you have stayed with this message until now, it is because your heart senses that the greatest revelation has not yet arrived. Do not look away. Pause here for a moment. Something is still waiting for you, and what happens next will reveal why every quiet season carried a purpose you could not yet understand. After those honest words were spoken, nothing around them appeared to change immediately. The sky looked the same. The roads remained the same. People continued with their ordinary routines. Yet within the unseen places where hearts are transformed, everything had shifted. Sometimes the greatest change makes no sound at all. That day, they walked away with a different spirit. For the first time in many years, they stopped chasing certainty and started embracing wisdom. They no longer searched for quick answers. Instead, they prayed for the courage to do what was right, even if the path required patience. Heaven delights in hearts that seek wisdom before comfort. Stay until the end, because another veil is about to be lifted. As the days passed, unexpected moments began appearing one after another. A familiar melody stirred forgotten memories. A meaningful phrase appeared in an ordinary conversation. A place they had not visited in years suddenly crossed their path again. To everyone else, these were simple coincidences. But deep inside, they could not ignore the feeling that each moment was gently pointing toward unfinished truth. Not unfinished because of romance alone. Unfinished because of growth. Unfinished because of forgiveness. Unfinished because both hearts still had lessons to receive before the full picture could be understood. My beloved child, never mistake delay for abandonment. There are seasons when I allow time itself to become a teacher. During those seasons, every unanswered question shapes wisdom, and every quiet day strengthens the soul in ways that cannot be measured. You have wondered why your own heart has changed. It is because waiting has refined you. You are not the same person who first began this journey. Neither are they. That is why the next moment carries such importance. Do not skip now. The story is approaching its most unexpected turn. One evening, while reflecting on everything that had happened, they came across something they believed had been lost forever. It was small, almost insignificant to anyone else, yet the instant they saw it, every wall they had carefully built around their emotions began to crumble. They did not react with haste. They did not allow emotion to make decisions for them. Instead, they whispered a quiet prayer. If this is truly part of your purpose, guide every step with wisdom. That prayer changed the atmosphere of their heart. Peace replaced confusion. Clarity replaced fear. Hope quietly returned where uncertainty had lived for so long. And then, within a very short time, an unexpected opportunity appeared, one that neither of you had planned, one that could not have been predicted, and one that seemed ordinary on the surface but carried extraordinary meaning beneath it. It was not the ending of the story. It was the opening of a new chapter. A chapter that would reveal why every delay, every silence, every unanswered question, and every hidden lesson had been preparing both of you for one unforgettable moment. What happened when that opportunity finally arrived? Is the revelation that changes everything in Part 7. My beloved child. Stay with these words a little longer. Do not rush past this moment, because the story is no longer moving through memories alone, it is moving toward a decision. The opportunity one spoke of arrived so quietly that many would have overlooked it, yet heaven recognized its importance from the very beginning. When that unexpected opportunity appeared, neither of you knew how significant it would become. It was not announced with signs in the sky. It was not surrounded by extraordinary events. It looked like another ordinary day. But ordinary days often carry extraordinary purpose. They paused before taking a single step. Instead of reacting with emotion, they chose reflection. Instead of assuming they already understood everything, they sought wisdom first. That simple choice revealed how much they had changed. The person who once rushed ahead had become someone willing to wait. The person who once feared silence had learned to listen. The person who once carried regret had begun carrying hope. My beloved child, true transformation is rarely loud. It is seen in quiet decisions that no one applauds. It is revealed when a heart chooses honesty even when no one else is watching. Stay until the end, because another hidden truth is about to be revealed. As they moved forward, they discovered something unexpected about themselves. The questions that once filled them with anxiety no longer held the same power. Instead, they felt a calm assurance that whatever the future held, it should be faced with integrity, compassion, and faith. That peace did not come from knowing every outcome. It came from trusting heaven one step at a time. Meanwhile, your own journey had prepared you in ways you could not fully see. The disappointments that once felt unbearable had quietly become lessons. The waiting that once seemed endless had strengthened your spirit. Even the moments you believed were wasted had shaped the wisdom you now carry. Nothing was without purpose. Nothing was forgotten. Nothing escaped my sight. Do not skip now. The next revelation changes the meaning of everything that came before. Then, during what seemed like an ordinary exchange, a sentence was spoken that neither of you expected to hear. It was not dramatic. It was not rehearsed. It came from a heart that had finally become willing to speak with complete sincerity. Those few words did not erase the past, nor did they promise an easy road ahead. Instead, they acknowledged something both of you had been learning separately, that truth brings freedom, and wisdom opens doors that fear keeps closed. In that quiet moment, something shifted. Not because every circumstance changed instantly, but because both hearts were no longer being guided by the same fears that once controlled them. Heaven had been preparing this moment long before either of you recognized it. And just when it seemed the conversation had reached its conclusion, an unexpected detail emerged, one small piece of information that had remained hidden until the perfect time. It was a truth that neither of you had considered. A truth that would completely reshape the story you believed you understood. When that final detail came into the light, everything suddenly made sense. But the full meaning of that revelation has yet to be uncovered. And what heaven reveals next will become the most unforgettable part of this journey. My beloved child, do not leave this moment. Stay with me a little longer, because what is about to unfold is not merely another chapter, it is the reason every previous chapter existed. You have followed this journey through silence, waiting, and quiet transformation. Now the hidden threads are beginning to weave together. The truth that surfaced was not the one anyone expected. It was gentle. It was humbling. And yet it carried enough weight to change the direction of every thought that followed. The hidden detail was this: throughout every season of distance, every unanswered question, and every unexpected turn, neither of you had truly stopped growing toward the purpose I had been shaping. While life appeared to move in separate directions, wisdom was quietly bringing both hearts closer to the people they were meant to become. This realization did not produce confusion. It produced clarity. Stay until the end, because another revelation is waiting for you. For the first time, they stopped asking, "Why did everything happen this way?" Instead, they began asking, "What should I become because of everything that happened?" That single question opened a door no one else could see. It was the beginning of freedom. My beloved child, there are moments when I allow people to discover that the greatest miracle is not finding someone else, it is allowing my wisdom to reshape the person looking back from the mirror. That is exactly what was taking place. Day by day, they became more patient, more compassionate, more willing to listen than to speak, more determined to choose what was right instead of what was easy. Every quiet decision became another step toward the future I was preparing. Meanwhile, I had not forgotten you. Even during the nights when you wondered whether your prayers had disappeared into silence, I was arranging lessons that would one day become your greatest strength. Every disappointment refined your character. Every delay deepened your faith. Every unanswered question prepared you to recognize truth when it finally stood before you. Do not skip now. The story is reaching a turning point unlike any before. Then came a day that looked completely ordinary. The morning began like countless others. Nothing seemed unusual. No extraordinary signs appeared. Yet beneath the surface, heaven had already begun moving pieces into place. An unexpected conversation led to another. A familiar name was mentioned. A forgotten memory returned with remarkable clarity. What once seemed disconnected suddenly fit together like pieces of a puzzle that had been waiting for years to be completed. Their heart became still. Not with fear. Not with regret. But with gratitude. They finally understood that every season, both joyful and difficult, had been teaching them how to recognize what truly matters. And at that very same time, something equally significant was beginning to unfold in your own life. The paths that once seemed impossibly distant were no longer moving without purpose. They were quietly approaching a moment that neither of you could have planned. A moment so unexpected, so beautifully timed, that when it finally arrives, you will look back on every previous chapter and understand why heaven never rushed the story. But before that moment can be fully revealed, there is one final hidden truth that must come into the light. And when that truth is spoken, you will understand why this journey was never about coincidence, it was always about preparation. That revelation awaits in Part 9. My beloved child, you have remained faithful to this journey, and that matters more than you realize. Stay with these words until the very end of this part, because the quiet mystery that has surrounded this story is about to become even clearer. Every step has been leading here not to an ending, but to a deeper understanding of what heaven has been doing all along. There is something many people never discover. They believe that destiny is only about arriving at a destination. But heaven is just as concerned with the condition of the heart that arrives there. That is why your seasons of waiting were never empty. They were filled with unseen preparation. The one you have been thinking about also came to understand this truth. Instead of searching for shortcuts, they began embracing patience. Instead of asking for immediate answers, they started asking for wisdom that would last beyond a single moment. That prayer carried extraordinary power. Not because it changed every circumstance overnight, but because it changed the one who was praying. Stay until the end. Another layer is about to unfold. Days passed quietly. Then, without warning, an unexpected opportunity to reflect on the past appeared. It was not dramatic. It was not planned. It simply arrived in a way that felt almost impossible to ignore. For a long moment, they stood still. They remembered laughter that had once brought peace. They remembered words that had encouraged them during uncertain seasons. Most of all, they remembered how easily people can overlook genuine kindness until time teaches its true value. Those memories no longer brought regret. They brought gratitude. My beloved child, gratitude has a remarkable way of opening doors that pride keeps closed. As that gratitude grew, fear slowly lost its influence. Old assumptions faded. New understanding took their place. For the first time in many years, they felt ready to face the future without pretending to have every answer. And while this transformation was taking place, something equally meaningful was unfolding in your own life. The quiet strength you had developed through waiting was becoming visible. Your compassion had deepened. Your discernment had grown. Your ability to remain hopeful without demanding immediate results had become one of your greatest gifts. Heaven wastes nothing. Not a single prayer. Not a single tear. Not a single season. Do not skip now. The greatest surprise is drawing near. Then, in an ordinary moment that no one else would have noticed, both journeys began moving toward the same horizon. It was subtle. Almost invisible. Yet it carried the unmistakable peace that often accompanies my perfect timing. Neither of you fully understood what was happening. Neither of you could see the complete picture. But heaven could. Every conversation. Every delay. Every lesson. Every unexpected turn had quietly prepared both hearts to recognize truth with greater humility and wisdom. Now only one final veil remains. Beyond that veil is a revelation that will explain why this entire story unfolded the way it did and why the most meaningful chapter was never about the past, but about the person each of you was becoming. The moment that reveals that final truth is closer than ever. And when it arrives, everything you thought was an ending will be seen in an entirely new light. My beloved child. If your heart has remained with this message until now, then let it become still for one more moment. Stop scrolling. Something is waiting for you. What you are about to hear is not the conclusion you expected, but it is the beginning of a deeper understanding. Heaven has never been interested in creating confusion. Heaven has always been interested in creating wisdom. Many people spend their lives chasing the ending of a story while missing the transformation happening within the story itself. Do not make that mistake. Every season you have witnessed in this journey has carried a hidden purpose. Every unanswered question has invited deeper faith. Every delay has quietly strengthened hearts that once depended on certainty instead of trust. Stay until the end, because one final mystery is about to be unveiled. The person whose journey has unfolded alongside yours finally understood something that had escaped them for years. They realized that true peace is never built on pretending the past did not happen. It is built on facing the truth with humility, accepting responsibility for today's choices, and allowing wisdom not impulse to guide tomorrow. That realization became their greatest turning point. Not because it instantly solved every circumstance, but because it changed the way they would live from that day forward. My beloved child, this is one of heaven's greatest miracles, a heart willing to grow. Growth often happens quietly. Character is formed when no one is watching. Faith becomes strongest during ordinary days. And love becomes most meaningful when it is expressed through integrity, patience, kindness, and truth. That is why this journey has never been about dramatic moments alone. It has always been about becoming. Becoming more compassionate. Becoming more honest. Becoming more patient. Becoming the person I have been shaping through every unexpected season. Do not skip now. The final revelation of this chapter is here. As both journeys continued, neither of you remained the same person who first entered this story. The questions that once created fear had become invitations to seek wisdom. The disappointments that once felt permanent had become teachers. Even the silence that once seemed unbearable had become a place where faith quietly matured. Then, in a calm and ordinary moment, everything became clear. The greatest surprise was never that lives had taken unexpected paths. The greatest surprise was that, through every twist and every delay, heaven had been inviting each heart to choose truth, compassion, and integrity over regret and illusion. Only when that inner transformation had taken place could the future be approached with genuine peace. Whether paths cross again or continue in different directions, no season spent growing in wisdom is ever wasted. That is the hidden treasure of this journey. So carry this truth with you, my beloved child. Never believe that silence means you have been forgotten. Never believe that waiting means nothing is happening. Never believe that an unexpected chapter is beyond heaven's ability to bring purpose from it. The story that truly matters is the one being written within your heart. And when you look back one day, you will understand that every page, even the difficult ones, was preparing you to become someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more deeply rooted in hope than you ever imagined possible. For the greatest miracle was not simply what happened next. It was who you were becoming all along. My beloved child. Do not close your heart yet. Remain here for a little longer, because even though many questions have been answered, one final layer of this journey is still waiting to be revealed. Pause here for a moment. Something is waiting for you, not outside of you, but within the quiet place where faith grows stronger than fear. Many people believe that heaven measures success by how quickly circumstances change. But heaven first measures the condition of the heart. That is why the greatest victories often happen in silence. Long before anyone notices them. Long before the world celebrates them. Stay until the end, because this truth will change the way you see every season of your life. As time continued to unfold, both hearts discovered that the greatest gift they had received was not certainty, it was wisdom. Wisdom to forgive without becoming bitter. Wisdom to hope without demanding immediate answers. Wisdom to trust that every delay could still carry purpose. The journey had refined both of you. What once felt like loss had become understanding.